Hi, my name is Nancy Talon. I'm going to present Prochaska, which is also known as Trans-Theoretical Model or TTM. This behavioral theory was started by a man called James Prochaska in 1942. He is a professor of psychology and a director of Cancer Prevention Center at University of Rhode Island. He is the developer of TTM beginning in 1983. He also earned BA in psychology at Wayne University in 1964. Prochaska is still alive. He also worked with Carlo Di Clement, who was a colleague that helped him to develop this TTM theory. TTM theory is based on analysis and use of different theories of psychotherapy, hence the name trans-theoretical. And that is James Prochaska. He also won numerous awards during the top 5 most cited authors. He was also the first psychologist to win Medal of Honor for clinical research from American Cancer Society. Dr. Prochaska has recently been recognized as one of the 3 most prominent living clinical psychologists. He's also an author of several publications. He grew up in a neighborhood in Dearborn, Michigan, and he was also surrounded by auto factories. His father worked in an assembly line, and his mother was part-time waitress. His parents are the ones that even helped him come up with this theory. He appreciated the wisdom of ordinary people. Growing up in that neighborhood, most people were low income, and it was mostly people that worked in auto factories. He appreciated the wisdom of these ordinary people. He was an ex-smoker for 2 years. During the development of this theory, he actually observed like 1,000 smokers. TTM is an integrative biopsychological model to conceptualize the process of intentional behavior change. If you're planning to change a behavior, for example, in this case, Prochaska used smoking as one of his behavioral tools that he used to learn the smokers. And there are so many behaviors nowadays that this Prochaska is applicable with. Whereas other models of behavior change focus exclusively on certain dimension of change, e.g. the theories focusing mainly on social or biological influences. TTM seeks to include and integrate key constructs from other theories into comprehensive theory of change that can be applied in a variety of behaviors. For example, maybe weight change, if you want diet management, exercise. Those are some of the behaviors that are applicable for this theory. TTM focused on decision making of the individual and is a model of intentional change. TTM operates on an assumption that people do not change behaviors quickly and decisively. Rather, they change behavior, especially habitual behavior, which occurs continuously through a cyclical process. Actually, TTM is not a theory per se, but it's a model that help people to move from one stage to another as they try to move towards healthy behaviors. There are several stages in this model of Prochaska. People usually move through a series of stages when modifying their behavior. The time that a person stays in each stage is variable. Certain principles and processes of the change work best at each stage to reduce resistance, facilitate progress, and prevent relapse. There are 6 stages that are being explained in this model. The first stage is called pre-contemplation, and then contemplation, preparation, action, and then maintenance. So I'm going to discuss the first stage, which is called pre-contemplation. It's also, I found one of these that it says, ignorance is a bliss. In this stage, people do not intend to take any action. And it's our responsibility as future psychiatric providers to be able to teach and educate our patients, or our clients, on the intent to take actions to make changes in future. People usually at this stage are unaware that the behavior is problematic or productive or produces negative consequences. So this is the time that we need to educate them and teach them on the effects of these behaviors. People in this stage often underestimate the pros of changing behaviors and place too much emphasis on the cons of the behavior. The next stage is called contemplation, which is also called sitting on the fence. People are intending to start the healthy behavior in the future, and this is usually defined within six months, and it can be variable. This is just used as an example. People recognize that their behaviors may be problematic and are more thoughtful. Practical consideration of the pros and cons of changing the behavior takes place within equal emphasis placed on both. Even with this recognition, people may still feel ambivalent towards changing their behavior. So at this stage, it's like they're sitting on the fence. They intend to make that change. They intend to stop smoking, but they haven't started the change yet. And then we move to preparation, which is testing the waters. Now they're putting their feet into those waters, and at this stage, people are ready to take action within the next 30 days. People start to take small steps towards behavior change. They start to take baby steps. If they're planning to stop smoking, or they're planning to cut their weight or weight management, they start taking baby steps at this stage of preparation, which is also called determination, or testing the waters. And then we have action. At this stage, people have recently changed their behavior, defined as within the last 6 months, and intend to keep moving forward with that behavior, as the name suggests, action. Now they are not testing the water, but now they've tested the water at this particular stage. People also may tend to exhibit this by modifying their problem behavior or acquiring new behaviors. And that's just one of the tables that I found that shows the stages of change, its characteristic and technique as well. Maintenance is the next one. In this stage, people have sustained their behavior change for a while. They have taken the action, and they intend to maintain those behavior change looking forward. So if they were smoking, they have stopped smoking now, and they have maintained or sustained those behaviors. And at this time, it is crucial that if it is something like stopping to smoke or using drugs or something like that, it is very beneficial to, as healthcare providers, to be able to inform them to hang out with the right people, because if they don't hang out with the right people, they're gonna go back to the beginning, or they're gonna go back to those unhealthy behaviors. And then we move to termination. In this stage, people have no desire to return to their unhealthy behaviors and are sure that they will not relapse. So they've changed, they've maintained their behaviors, they are now doing healthy behaviors, and they don't decide to go back to that smoking or whatever the behavior they are planning to have forever or in the future. There are also concepts of TTM models. To progress through the stages of change, people apply cognitive, affective, and evolutive processes. So there are 10 processes that are identified in this model, and they are of different, they explain different strategies that help to maintain this change. And the first one is conscious racing, which means that increasing awareness about the healthy behavior. Now you know what healthy behavior entails. We also have dramatic relief, emotional arousal about the health behavior, whether positive or negative. There's also self-evaluation or self-reappraisal or self-scrutinizing. You scrutinize yourself to realize that the healthy behavior is part of who you want to be. So you kind of self-judge, you judge yourself about this healthy behavior. And then there's also environmental re-evaluation. This includes the surrounding, the world around you, the environment around you, your peers, your friends, so the social reappraisal to realize how their unhealthy behavior affects others. We also have social liberation, environmental opportunities that exist to show society is supportive of the healthy behavior. So there are these groups, like AAA, or groups that can help you so you can continue with healthy behavior. There's also self-liberation, commitment to change behavior based on the belief that achievement of the healthy behavior is possible, helping relationships, finding supportive relationships that encourage the desire to change. So you wanna, as I say, you wanna be with the right group or the right team to help you out, so you can keep going on, so you can maintain the healthy behavior. And there's also counter conditioning, which is substituting healthy behaviors and thoughts for unhealthy behaviors and thoughts. Reinforcement management, rewarding the positive behavior and reducing the reward that comes from negative behavior. So if they maintain this unhealthy behavior, we reward them, and there are various resources in communities that can offer this rewarding. Stimulus control, re-engineering the environment to have reminder and cues that support and encourage the healthy behavior and remove those that encourage the unhealthy behaviors. Application, TTM or Prochaska. It's more like a ladder. So as you said, you start from pre-contemplation and you create awareness, change values and beliefs. And then you move to contemplation, persuade and motivate, educate, facilitate action, reinforce changes, reminder, and communication. That's just one of the interesting steps that I found. And TTM is applied with wide variety of behavioral changes. We have somatization, exercise, weight control, alcohol abuse, radon testing, and low-fat diet. When we mention about low-fat diet, is what you can eat, like fruits and vegetables. What you can avoid is fatty meat, whole milk dairy, and fried food. As we talk about my plate, where we encourage eating healthy, and this is actually one of the applications for Chaska. We also have condom use for HIV prevention, organizational change. Different companies use this to bring about change and profit in their companies. Use of sunscreening to prevent skin cancer, drug abuse, medical compliance, mammogram screening, and stress management. Limitation of the model. The theory ignores the social context in which change occurs. Maybe some people might not have income to be able to move from one state to another. It requires probably time. It requires money. The lines between the states can arbitrary with no set criteria for how to determine a person's stage of change. The questionnaires that have been developed to assign a person to a stage of change are not always standardized or validated. There is no clear sense of how much time is needed for each stage or how long a person remains on that particular stage. The model assumes that individuals make coherent and logical plans in their decision-making process, when this is not always the truth. And those are my reference, and thank you very much for listening, and have a good day. Bye-bye.